Carol is trapped inside an abandoned store, swallowing every pill and energy drink she can find not to feel stronger, but to keep herself from sleeping. Because in this world, the moment you close your eyes, you may wake up as something that is no longer human. Outside the door, emotionless people keep pounding harder, and Carol knows they are not trying to kill her. They are trying to make her one of them. A few days earlier, everything begins with what looks like a national disaster. A space shuttle returning to Earth suddenly explodes in the atmosphere, sending burning pieces of wreckage across several American states. News channels immediately turn the crash into a nightmare, warning that the debris could be proof of an alien threat. Most people stay away from the wreckage, but not everyone is smart enough to fear it. Some scavengers even collect pieces and try to sell them online. At one of the crash sites, Tucker, the head of the CDC, arrives to inspect the damage. Scientists discover something deeply disturbing on the shuttle debris, a strange organism attached to the metal, capable of surviving extreme radiation. Even worse, it multiplies incredibly fast, which suggests this thing may not be from Earth. But the first infection happens quietly. As Tucker leaves the site, he accidentally cuts his finger on a small piece of debris. He notices the wound, brushes it off, and goes home like nothing happened. That tiny cut becomes the beginning of something much bigger. That night, Tucker's dog growls at him the second he enters the house. The animal senses something wrong before any human can. Tucker ignores it and goes to bed, but while he sleeps, his body begins to change. His skin sweats heavily, his face tightens, and something inside him seems to rewrite him from the inside out. Meanwhile, Tucker's ex-wife, Carol, is woken by her young son Oliver screaming from a nightmare. She rushes into his room and stays with him until he calms down. At this point, Carol has no idea the nightmare her son just had is nothing compared to what is already spreading outside. The next morning, Tucker calls Carol and suddenly asks to see Oliver. This is strange, because he has barely been involved in his son's life for years. Carol refuses and hangs up, but his request leaves her uneasy. After dropping Oliver at school, Carol heads to work. She is a psychiatrist, and on the way she runs into her close friend Ben, a doctor who offers her a ride. Ben tells her something the public does not know. The government is hiding details about the shuttle crash, and several researchers connected to the site have suddenly resigned. Carol does not want to get dragged into conspiracy talk, but she admits Tucker has been acting unusually cold and suddenly wants access to Oliver. And then her first patient gives her the real warning. A woman named Wendy tells Carol that her husband has become terrifyingly emotionless. A few days earlier, he came home, and the family dog began growling at him for no reason. Instead of reacting like a normal person, her husband killed the dog without guilt, panic, or anger. He just did it. Carol listens carefully, but she does not yet understand the pattern. She prescribes Wendy medication, not realizing this is no ordinary breakdown. It is a symptom of something taking over human behavior. That evening, Carol takes Oliver trick-or-treating with her neighbor and their children. At one house, a dog suddenly goes wild, barking aggressively at one of the boys. The owner insists the dog is normally gentle, but seconds later, the animal lunges and knocks the boy to the ground. The boy's reaction is even more disturbing than the attack. He does not cry. He does not panic. He grabs the dog's mouth with his bare hands and squeezes it shut until the owner pulls the animal away. His hand is injured, but his face stays completely blank. No fear, no pain, nothing. Later, the kids gather at Carol's house to go through their candy. Her neighbor admits her son has been acting different for days, almost as if his emotions have disappeared. Before Carol can process that, Oliver screams from another room. She rushes in and finds a strange piece of flesh in his hand, something he apparently pulled from his Halloween candy. The next morning, Carol sees a terrified woman running through the street as if something is chasing her. She ignores it at first, but the image stays with her. She takes the strange flesh sample to Ben, who sends it to his scientist friend Stephen for testing. Stephen agrees to examine it, but the results will take time. Time is exactly what they do not have. Across the country, a mysterious illness begins spreading. People are dying, but doctors cannot identify the cause. In Washington, an emergency meeting is held. Tucker stands in front of officials and claims the virus is spreading faster than anything they have seen before. If they do not act immediately, he warns, the country could collapse economically. His proposed solution is a national inoculation program. But Tucker is no longer trying to save people. Elsewhere, infected waiters secretly vomit into tea before serving it to guests. The virus is not spreading by accident anymore. It is being delivered. After leaving the hospital, Carol sees a homeless man having a seizure in the street. Unlike the terrified woman from earlier, people actually help him, which makes the scene feel strangely controlled. When Carol reaches her office, she finds Wendy's husband waiting there. His face is lifeless, and he refuses to leave until he sees his wife. Carol immediately calls Wendy and warns her not to enter the building. Wendy listens and escapes in a taxi to stay with her sister. Carol has saved her for now, but she still does not understand how large this danger has become. That night, Carol reluctantly allows Oliver to spend time with Tucker, because legally, he is still the boy's father. On the drive to Tucker's house, a panicked woman suddenly appears in the road. Carol slams the brakes just in time. The woman begs for help and tries to warn her that something terrible is coming. But before she can explain, a car hits her. Carol looks at the driver and sees no horror on his face. No shock, no regret, just a cold, empty stare. When police arrive, Carol wants to give a statement, but the head officer casually tells her to go home because they have everything under control. The way he says it feels wrong. Too calm, too rehearsed. Carol drops Oliver at Tucker's house and notices the same lifeless expression on her ex-husband's face. Still, she leaves, not realizing she may have just placed her son in the center of the outbreak. Later, Carol meets Ben at an elegant party, where they speak with diplomat Belichick, his wife Ludmilla, and Dr. Urish. The conversation is intellectual and polished, but beneath the fancy atmosphere, the world outside is already changing. After the party, Ben takes Carol home and tries to kiss her. She briefly kisses him back, then pulls away because she does not want to destroy their friendship. But the night is not over. Inside her apartment, Carol sends Oliver a message. Suddenly, someone knocks at the door. She opens it only slightly and finds a man claiming to be from the census department. At that hour, the excuse makes no sense. Carol tries to shut the door, but the man forces his hand inside. She struggles against him and finally manages to lock him out. Meanwhile, Oliver plays with his friend Jean, who says his father has been acting strange too. Oliver admits Tucker is also different. When Oliver returns home, Tucker is preparing a special drink for him. The moment feels harmless on the surface, but by now, every small gesture carries a threat. The next morning, Carol notices people on the street moving with blank faces. Their bodies are alive, but their personalities seem erased. When she reaches her office, she learns every patient has canceled their appointment. That is when the pieces begin locking together. Carol tries calling Wendy, but her husband answers and calmly says everything is fine. Now Carol realizes this is not just sickness, it is control. Something is taking people over and replacing their emotions with obedience. She starts researching the virus online, but her secretary suddenly appears and offers her tea. Carol almost drinks it, until Ben calls and tells her the test results are ready. That phone call saves her without her even knowing it. At the lab, Stephen explains what they found in the skin sample. It contains microscopic spores that attack the human brain during sleep. Once the victim falls asleep, the organism alters their genetic code and rewires their behavior. The infected still look human, but they become emotionally empty and mentally controlled. That means the only way to stay safe is simple and horrifying. Do not sleep. Before they can process this, Ludmilla calls Ben in panic. Dr. Urish has been acting strangely. Carol, Ben, and Stephen rush to his house, passing long lines of people waiting for government vaccinations. To everyone else, the vaccine looks like protection. To Carol, it is starting to look like a trap. Inside Urish's home, they find him lying in bed, his body going through a grotesque transformation. Carol tries to take a picture, but Urish suddenly wakes and attacks her. Ben shoves him away, and Urish drags himself across the room before vomiting a strange liquid and dying. Now Carol knows Oliver could already be exposed. She races to Tucker's house to get her son. When she arrives, Tucker is in a meeting with other emotionless men. Carol demands to know where Oliver is. Tucker claims he is playing at Jean's house, but Carol does not trust him and starts searching the home. That is when the men surround her. Carol tries to run, but Tucker tackles her to the floor and infects her with his saliva. She fights him off, escapes through the back door, and runs to the neighbors for help. But they are infected too. Every door around her is now dangerous. She reaches her car, but the road is blocked. In panic, she crashes. When she climbs out, a group of infected people chase her through the streets. Carol runs to the main avenue, begging strangers for help, but everyone ignores her like she is invisible. With nowhere else to go, she enters a subway station. On the train, every passenger wears the same lifeless expression. Then, Carol receives a message from Oliver. He tells her Tucker has hidden him somewhere and begs her to save him. Carol nearly breaks down, but one passenger quietly reveals he is not infected. He explains that the normal people are pretending to be emotionless, so the infected will not notice them. He tells Carol to do the same. Seconds later, infected people enter the train car. Carol and the remaining uninfected passengers rush to the end of the train and lock the door. The infected trigger the emergency stop, then begin breaking through. Carol opens the rear door and jumps off the train, escaping into the dark tunnel. She runs until she reaches a station locker room, where she finds a guard's gun. When the guard approaches, Carol panics and accidentally shoots him. Horrified by what she has done, she drops the weapon and forces herself to keep moving. Back on the street, Carol hides her fear behind a blank expression. She sees police rounding up uninfected citizens and forcing them to take the so-called vaccine. Now the truth is clear. Tucker's inoculation program is not stopping the virus. It is spreading it. An uninfected officer notices the sweat on Carol's face and quietly warns her to leave fast, because sweat will expose her. Carol walks away, trying to act normal, but then she runs into her neighbor, who offers her the vaccine shot. Carol stays emotionless and convinces her she has already taken it. She makes it to Tucker's house, hoping to find Oliver, but the place is empty. She leaves him a message and heads back into the streets. Then, she sees a crowd gathered around a couple who have chosen death over infection. And as Carol watches the world lose its humanity, she realizes the real enemy is not coming from space anymore. It is already wearing human faces. Carol knows one wrong expression can expose her, so she locks every emotion behind a blank face and keeps moving. Around her, people are dying, disappearing, or pretending to be normal. But Carol has only one mission now: find Oliver before the infected turn him into a weapon. She reaches the Belichick mansion, where Ben and Steven are still running tests. After a short discussion, Ben decides to go with Carol and help her find Oliver. Steven and his assistant prepare to head for Fort Detrick in Maryland, hoping the military lab can help create a cure. But there is one terrifying rule they all agree on: no one can sleep. Because if any of them have been exposed, sleep is the moment the virus takes control. Just then, Belichick returns home. Ludmilla hugs him, but something is clearly wrong. Belichick has already been infected. He is calm, cold, and suspicious of anyone who has not changed. Moments later, he allows armed guards into the house, thinking intruders may be hiding inside. Carol and the others spot the guards on the security cameras and escape through the back door before they are trapped. Outside, the nightmare is already in full control. Infected police officers are dragging Wendy away by force. She screams that she slept and still did not transform, but the cops do not care. They knock her unconscious and take her. That one sentence changes everything. Carol and Ben split from the others and start thinking about Wendy's claim. If Wendy slept but remained human, then she may be immune. Soon, they find a dead cop on the street, steal his police car, and rush to Carol's office to check Wendy's medical records. Ben searches her file and discovers Wendy suffers from encephalitis, a brain illness. That explains her immunity. The alien spores attack healthy brains because they need them to feed and reproduce. Wendy's damaged brain somehow made her useless to the virus. For the first time, they have a clue that could lead to a cure. Ben immediately calls Steven with the information. At the same time, Carol gets a new message from Oliver. He tells her he is being kept at his grandmother's house in Baltimore. Carol is shaken, but then she reveals something even worse to Ben. Tucker infected her. Ben tries to calm her and promises they still have time, but Carol knows the clock is already running. If she falls asleep before they find a cure, she may become one of them. Ben drives toward Baltimore at reckless speed, blasting through blocked streets and police barriers. But eventually, the infected authorities close in. Ben makes a dangerous choice. He distracts the police and lets Carol escape on foot so they will chase him instead. Now Carol is alone again. A cop stops her on the street, but Carol keeps her face emotionless and shows her ID. Her act works, and he lets her go. She reaches the train station and boards a train to Baltimore, hiding inside the bathroom to avoid attention. But exhaustion is starting to break her. Carol has been awake too long. Her mind begins slipping. In the mirror, she sees another version of herself staring back, violent and ready to attack. She jolts awake just in time and washes strange pieces of alien flesh from her skin. Then she opens the bathroom door and finds Gene waiting outside. Gene says he has lost his family, so now he wants to be part of hers. His voice is calm, but his words carry a threat. He keeps telling Carol to sleep. Carol pretends she will, but only once she is alone. When the train reaches Baltimore, Gene checks on her again and catches her removing more strange flesh from her body. Now he is suspicious. Soon Tucker arrives and escorts Carol and Jean to his mother's house, believing Carol has already changed because she is hiding her emotions so well. Inside the house, Oliver is nowhere to be seen. Carol stays calm around Tucker's family, pretending to be one of them. When Ben calls, she speaks in code and pretends he is her secretary. She cannot say anything openly, because one wrong word could get them both killed. When Tucker finally leaves for work, Carol searches the house. Room by room, she looks for any sign of Oliver. At last, she finds him hidden away. For a moment, Oliver does not know whether to trust her. Carol cannot openly cry or panic, so she says just enough emotional words to prove she is still herself. Oliver realizes his mother is still human, and they hug tightly. Then Oliver reveals something important. He has been sleeping every day, yet he never transformed. Carol realizes his medication for a sleep disorder may have protected him. Just like Wendy, Oliver's condition makes him immune to the alien infection. But before they can escape, Jean catches them. Carol shoves him away and runs out with Oliver. Tucker spots them through the window and immediately chases after them. Carol and Oliver sprint through the streets until Oliver notices a broken window in an abandoned warehouse. They climb inside and hide. But Tucker follows them in. He starts talking like the infected are building a better world, one without fear, violence, or hate. While he speaks, Carol tries to sneak toward the door, but Tucker grabs her from behind and tries to knock her out. Oliver jumps in and hits his father with a metal tool, but Tucker grabs him instead. That gives Carol the opening she needs. She strikes Tucker on the head and knocks him unconscious. Then she takes Oliver and escapes before he can wake up. With nowhere safe left to go, Carol and Oliver hide inside an empty department store. Carol searches the medicine section and finds an injection. She gives it to Oliver and tells him that if she falls asleep, he must inject it straight into her heart. It is a horrifying request, but Carol knows what is at stake. They search the store for food, while Carol gets another call from Ben. He learns where they are and promises to come pick them up. While Carol is on the phone, Oliver notices a door with blood near it and starts walking toward it. Carol stops him, just in time. She opens the door herself and finds several people lying on the floor, already going through the transformation. One of them is a cop. Carol carefully moves closer, takes his gun, then rushes out and locks the door behind her. She tells Oliver to stay away from it no matter what. Hours pass. Oliver sleeps because he is immune, but Carol is barely holding on. She searches the store for anything that can keep her awake: medicine, pills, energy drinks, anything. This brings us back to the opening moment, where Carol is trapped inside the store while the infected begin waking up behind the locked door. Then her body finally gives out. Carol falls asleep. The infected inside the room wake up and start pounding on the door. The noise wakes Oliver, and he sees his mother unconscious. He remembers her instructions, grabs the syringe, and injects her just in time. Carol wakes up before the transformation can take over. She rushes to the bathroom and washes the alien flesh from her face. For a second, it looks like they may still survive. Then, she steps outside and sees Ben has finally arrived. Relieved, Carol runs to hug him, but the moment she touches him, she realizes the truth. Ben has been infected. He calmly tells Carol that the new society will be better. No crime, no hatred, no discrimination, no chaos, just peace through control. Carol backs away, terrified, and points her gun at him. But Ben opens the locked door, releasing the infected people inside the store. Then he looks at Oliver and reveals what they truly fear: immunity. The infected rush toward Oliver, and Carol starts shooting. She drops them one by one, protecting her son with everything she has left. But when Ben stands in front of her, she cannot kill him. Instead, she shoots him in the leg, grabs Oliver, and runs. Outside, they steal Ben's car and escape. Carol drives like her life depends on it, because it does. Stephen calls and gives her the address of a building where a helicopter will be waiting. It is their last chance. But the infected are everywhere now. As Carol reaches a main street, cars surround her from every side. She crashes and loses consciousness. Infected people swarm the vehicle while Oliver locks the doors and desperately shakes his mother awake. One man smashes the window and reaches inside. Carol wakes at the last second, hits the gas, and forces the car through the crowd. Several attackers cling to the roof, so Carol drives wildly, crashing into obstacles on purpose to throw them off. Police cars ram her from behind until she crashes again, sending the remaining attackers flying into a shop window. Somehow, the car still runs. Stephen keeps guiding her over the phone, but the infected are not finished. One man throws a Molotov cocktail at the vehicle, setting it on fire. Carol does not stop. She drives through the flames until she reaches the parking lot of the building Stephen gave her. The car slams into a pillar. Carol and Oliver climb out and run for the elevator. The infected nearly reach them, but Carol and Oliver fight them off long enough for the doors to close. The elevator rises while the world beneath them collapses. At last, they reach the roof. Stephen is waiting with soldiers and a helicopter. Carol and Oliver run toward it and are pulled inside, escaping just as the infected close in. Sometime later, scientists outside the United States develop a vaccine. With Stephen's research and the discovery of immunity, the alien virus is finally wiped out across the world. Humanity survives, and life slowly returns to normal. Stephen later explains to the press that people who were cured have no memory of what happened while they were infected. To the world, the nightmare becomes a strange tragedy with missing pieces. Carol adopts Jean, and she begins a relationship with Ben, who has also been cured. On the surface, everything seems peaceful again. The boys head off to school, and Ben sits at home reading the newspaper. Then he comments on all the violence, crime, and hatred still happening in the world. Carol says nothing. But the thought stays with her. The aliens promised a world without war, without hate, and without human cruelty. They nearly erased mankind to create peace. And now, even after surviving them, Carol is left wondering the most disturbing question of all. Were they completely wrong?